There are stories that seem so simple that people assume there's no way this can be profound. But it is precisely that radical simplicity that opens up layers of meaning that complex, many-layered narratives cannot reach. Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea is one such work. With nothing more than an old man, a boy, a marlin, and a small skiff, Hemingway builds an epic song about pride, existence, dignity, and the essential loneliness of the human condition. A story that almost has no plot twist, no climax in the classic three-act structure, no clear antagonist, yet it rings out like a long echo of humanity's struggle against the cruelty and meaninglessness of life. In this analysis, we will take a particular angle. Santiago is not a too heroic, absurd figure, but an existential tragic hero. Someone who turns human helplessness before the universe into a beauty of its own. It tells the story of a man confronting the unchanging fact of life, meaninglessness. 2. Santiago and the limits of humanity. Weak, old, exhausted, but unbroken. One of the reasons Santiago cannot be called heroic absurd is that Hemingway builds him completely within realistic human limits. He is old and weak. His muscles tremble. His hands are torn. His back is pulled in pain. He is hungry. He is short of water. He has no modern tools. He has only a small boat and his faith. There is no scene in the story that portrays him with more than human abilities. There are no superhuman moments, no over-heroic feats, no action that violates physical logic. He hurts. He is worn out. He shakes. He makes mistakes. Yet it is precisely within that weakness that dignity shows through. A heroic absurd figure is someone who does things far beyond human capacity in a ridiculous, reality-denying way. Santiago is the opposite. Everything he does stays at the extreme, but still possible edge of human capacity. From that, there arises the beauty of human pride, not some hollow, exaggerated heroics. 3. The Marlin, opponent or reflection of the old man himself. In many other works, the opponent is the enemy, but here the Marlin is not a villain. It is like a reflective double of the old man, strong, proud, enduring, fighting to the end. Hemingway describes the fish almost as a noble being, a beautiful, strong, and noble creature. Santiago does not hate it, he admires it. He speaks to it as he would to a friend, a worthy adversary, a spirit that compels him to keep fighting. In existential philosophy, the human struggle is a struggle with oneself, with one's limits, with meaninglessness, with fear. The marlin is a symbol of the goal, of the great thing a human pursues, not to possess it, but to find themselves in the very effort to reach it. From that, there arises the beauty of human pride, not some hollow, exaggerated heroics. 4. Human beings do not lose when they fail. They lose when they give up. One of Hemingway's most famous lines is, "A man can be destroyed but not defeated." This is the spirit that runs through the entire book. Santiago is destroyed. His body is ruined. The fish is eaten. His effort is almost washed away into the sea, but he is not defeated because he never gives up throughout the journey. Hemingway reverses our usual standard of victory. Victory is no longer in the result. It lies in the dignity with which one fights. If we look with ordinary eyes, the old man loses. But according to Hemingway's philosophy, the old man is the only true victor. 5. Why not heroic absurd? Because Santiago does not fight to become a hero. He fights for his personal pride, for the dignity of someone who lives by the trade he has chosen, for a promise to himself, for respect for his opponent. There is nothing nonsensical. There is nothing ridiculous. There's nothing over the top. This is not the kind of overblown heroism that becomes laughable. This is a measured heroism, calibrated by the limits of reality, physical pain, and the fact that the old man knows he might die and still does it. If the heroic absurd fights to show off power, Santiago fights to keep his dignity. One side is ostentatious, the other is quiet. One side is theatrical, the other is submerged beneath the surface. That is the fundamental difference. 6. A meaningless victory and the beauty of the absurd, according to Camus. The word absurd in existential philosophy, especially in Albert Camus, does not mean ridiculous in the everyday sense. It means life has no absolute purpose. Everything humans do can be erased, dissolved, and in the end, there is nothing. Santiago struggles with the fish, hauls it back, but then sharks steal it. His huge effort turns to dust, his glory dissolves, he returns with a bare skeleton. This is the absurd in the existential sense. Humanity's grand efforts are always swallowed up by an indifferent world. There are always sharks waiting. And like Sisyphus pushing his rock up the hill, humans must face the truth that all effort ultimately comes to nothing. But Hemingway does not stop at meaninglessness. He goes on to the book's most beautiful message. Even if life is meaningless, humans still have the right to choose, fight, or give up. And that choice itself creates meaning. Victory does not lie in the fish he brings back, but in the unyielding spirit he carries away. 7. Loneliness, the price of dignity. Santiago has only one companion, the boy, Manolin. But the greatest battle of his life he must face alone. Hemingway puts the old man in the middle of an empty ocean. No one there, no audience, no lights, no applause. His victory is a victory with no witnesses, no prizes. This highlights a deep philosophy. The greatest battles in a person's life all happen alone. A person does not need anyone watching to still live true to their own dignity. And if victory only has meaning when others recognize it, then that is not true victory. Santiago is lonely, but in that loneliness, his dignity is seen most clearly. 8. The boy Manolin, the world's remaining hope. Manolin is not the main character, but he is the most important piece for understanding Santiago. The boy sees what the whole village does not see. You are the best. Not because the old man catches fish, but because his spirit is far beyond that of others. Manolin stands for the next generation, for faith in human dignity, for admiration that is not based on achievement. In a pragmatic world where everyone measures the old man by whether he brings back fish or not, Manolin is the only one who looks into his soul. The old man fights alone at sea, but when he returns to shore, the boy is proof that effort is never entirely meaningless. Even a meaningless victory leaves behind a seed, a child who has learned what pride is. 9. The giant skeleton, a symbol of a victory not meant for the world. When Santiago drags the skeleton back, people look at it and exclaim, "I've never seen such a big skeleton." Strangely, this is the moment when people praise him the most, when he has lost everything. The skeleton becomes a metaphor. Material results can vanish, but the trace of effort does not. Human beauty lies in what they leave in the minds of others. The skeleton is not a failure. It is proof of a victory that does not need to be perfect. 10. The old man in the sea. Beautiful or absurd? If we look from a practical, utilitarian logic, he sails too far and risks danger. He fights a fish that is too big. He loses all his catch. He ends up with almost nothing. Absurd. But if we look at it as a heroic song, he fights to the point of collapse. He does not retreat before fear. He keeps his dignity even when life bites everything away. He conquers himself. He returns with a silent pride. Beautiful. And Hemingway wants both to coexist. Beauty within meaninglessness. That is precisely his existentialism. Conclusion. The Old Man and the Sea is not a story of heroic absurd. Not a kind of ridiculous, unrealistic, over-the-limit heroism. On the contrary, it is a story of a man who is utterly ordinary, fighting within the narrow limits of his life, yet with a shining dignity. It is beautiful because he wins. It is beautiful because he does not give up. It is not absurd because he fights. It is absurd because life itself is meaningless, and humans can only find meaning through the very battles they choose. Santiago is the symbol of this. Pride does not lie in what you bring back, but in what you carry in your heart when you return.